How are you guys doing? Today is Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I am going to do an individual profile for Giannis Antetokounmpo. The elite Greek power forward for the Milwaukee Bucks is turning 28 today, and of course, my intention for this profile is to lay out what his careers look like up until this point. Of course, he is in the middle of his prime, and he has a lot of amazing basketball ahead of him, but just looking at what he's already done, I do think it's worthy of understanding why he is the youngest player in the NBA's 75th anniversary team, making that list of the top 75 players in NBA history before cracking the age of 30. As of right now, he is a champion in this league, as he would help the Bucks win their first championship in 50 seasons. He would be the Finals MVP the year he won it as well. He would be a MVP in this league twice, not to mention that he would go on and be named an all-star in this league over the past 6 seasons. He would be named the All-Star Game MVP in 2021, the year he was the champion. He would be named to the All-NBA first team the past 4 seasons, even though he was named to the All-Defensive first team in all 4 of those years as well. Standing in at 7 feet tall and 240 pounds, it's no surprise that he was also named the Defensive Player of the Year in the midst of Rudy Gobert's prime. He was named the Eurobasket top scorer this year, not to mention that he has a lot more accolades that he still has yet to accomplish as one of the best players, if not the best player in the league right now. So like I said, he stands in at about 7 feet tall and about 243 pounds. If you're familiar with his progression in the NBA, he would come in as a skinny teenager, as his skills alone and his frame would get him to the NBA level. He would get his body stronger, and he would work on a lot of his strengths, and he would become one of the more dominant two-way players in the history of the game, at least in my lifetime, considering I was born in 1999. But looking at how his career would get started, initially being born to Nigerian parents in Greece, in Athens, he would work his way up to playing for Philathletikos, a Greek team in the Greek B Basket League. After turning 18 in that league, he would establish himself as a young European superstar, and in his last season there in 2012-2013, which would be his age 18 season, he would average about 22 and a half minutes a game, while averaging 9.5 points per game and even making the Greek League All-Star game before waving sayonara and becoming, a national hero. His very first season, after playing in the Greek League, he would establish himself as a top prospect in the 2013 NBA draft. He would be selected right outside of the lottery. He was taken with the 15th overall pick in the first round by the Milwaukee Bucks. The only All-Star that would be taken ahead of him was Victor Oladipo with the 2nd pick by the Orlando Magic out of Indiana. This was the year where Anthony Bennett was taken with the 1st pick out of UNLV by the Cleveland Cavaliers. After he was drafted, Giannis Antetokounmpo would start 23 of the 77 games he would play in his age 19 season in Milwaukee, as in that year he would average about 24 minutes a game, playing half of the games minute-wise in a season where the Milwaukee Bucks would finish with a 15-67 record. His rookie season would see the lowest amount of wins that the Bucks would ever win in its franchise's history. Even the shortened seasons, they would win 23 less than the year prior. 2013-14 would be the lone season that Larry Drew would be coaching this team. His rookie season would see Giannis average about 6.8 points while shooting 41% from the field. He would shoot 34% from 3 while making half a 3 per game. He would go on and shoot 68% from the free throw line. He would, alongside his nearly 7 points a game, he would average 4.4 rebounds. He would average nearly 2 assists a game, as he would average 0.8 steals and 0.8 blocks a game that season. Once that season would finish, of course, the Bucks would miss the playoffs, and in that offseason, he would go on, of course, and get stronger and get in better shape as he would become more of a full-time starter his second year. His second year in Milwaukee would be his age 20 season in 2014-15. In that season, he would start 71 of the 81 games he played for a Milwaukee Bucks team that would go 41-41. Going 500, they would have 26 more wins than the year prior in Jason Kidd's first year as the coach of the team. They would finish with the sixth best record in the East as they would qualify for the playoffs for the first time in Giannis's career. Giannis would see his minutes go up by about 7 minutes, averaging 31.4 minutes. As a full-ish time starter, he would see his points go up from 6.8 to 12.7. He would average 6 more points a game while shooting 49% from the field. He would shoot 16% from 3 while attempting a 3 every other game. He would shoot 74% from the foul line. This would be his first season shooting over 70% from the free throw line. Alongside his 12.7 points, Giannis would average 6.7 rebounds, 2.5 assists, just under a steal, and he would average a block in just that age 20 year as he was establishing himself as a do-it-all player on both ends for Milwaukee, and this would be after he would make the all-rookie second team after that first year. Giannis's third season with Milwaukee would be his age 21 season in 2015-2016. As in his third year, he would start 79 of the 80 games he played in a season where the Milwaukee Bucks would finish with a 33-49 record. They would have 8 less wins than the year prior as they would miss the playoffs for the second time in Giannis's first 3 years with the organization. Antetokounmpo would see his minutes go up to 35 minutes a game in the season. His points would also go up from 12.7 to 16.9 points per game. Alongside his 16 points, he would go on and shoot 50% from the field from the very first time in his career. He would shoot 26% from the three-point line. He would then go on and shoot 72% from the free throw line as well, pretty much on par with what he was doing his second year there. Alongside his nearly 17 points, he would average 7.7 rebounds. He would average 4.3 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1.4 blocks. As in 2015-16, he was, like I said, establishing himself as one of the better two-way players, just getting better and better at both ends, while, of course, getting his body mass up and getting more used to players that are playing his position. Once that season would come to an end, it would lead to Giannis's fourth season with Milwaukee, which would be his very first All-Star season with the team. In his age 22 season with Milwaukee in 2016-17, he would start all 80 of the games he played in a season where the Bucks would finish with a 42-40 record. They would finish with 9 more wins than the year prior in Jason Kidd's last full year as the head coach. This is the year where Malcolm Brogdon out of Virginia would win the Rookie of the Year on the team. This would also be the year where Giannis Antetokounmpo would win the Most Improved Player, as this would be the year where he would be an All-Star for the first year as well. He would make the All-NBA second team as well as the all-defensive second team as well in his most improved season. This season would see Giannis Antetokounmpo see his minutes go from 35 minutes to exactly 35 minutes. His minutes would stay the same. His points would jump up from 17 points to 23 points a game, averaging 6 more points a game, while shooting 52% from the field, while averaging 15 attempts for the first time in his career. Giannis would also go on and shoot 27% from the three-point line. He would shoot 77% from the free throw line, first time he shot over 75%, and this would be the highest free throw percentage that Giannis would ever shoot from the free throw line, while doing this on about 7.5 attempts per game. Alongside his 23 points, he would average 8.8 rebounds, first time he averaged at least 8 rebounds. He would average 5.4 assists, the first time he would average at least 5 assists a game. He would also average his career highs in steals and blocks per game. He would average 1.6 steals, and he would average 1.9 blocks. Following that 2016-2017 season and following him winning that Most Improved Player award, he would find the Milwaukee Bucks back in the playoffs. However, they would end up losing in the first round to the Toronto Raptors. That year, the Eastern Conference would be won by the Cleveland Cavaliers for the third year in a row, as they ended up losing to Golden State the first year that they had Kevin Durant there. This would lead into Giannis's fifth season with the Milwaukee Bucks and his second All-Star season. In his age 23 season, he would go on and start all 75 of the games he played in a season where the Milwaukee Bucks would finish with a 44-38 record. They would finish with the seventh best record in the East, as they had 2 more wins in the prior year. This would be the year where Jason Kidd was switched out for Joe Prunty to end the year as head coach. That season would see Giannis Antetokounmpo make it back to the second team All-NBA for the second year in a row. 2018 would also see him be named an All-Star for the second year in a row as well, showing that his Most Improved Player season was not a fluke. He would average the most minutes he would average in his career, averaging 36.7. That's more than 3/4 of action. He would see his points go up from 22.9 to 26.9. This would be the first season that the Greek Freak would average at least 25 points a game in the NBA. He did so while shooting 53% from the field, making it his third year in a row, making over half of his shots. He would shoot 30.7% from three. The first season he would shoot over 30%, and to this day, that is the highest percentage he's ever shot from three as a full-time starter in the NBA. The only season where he shot higher was his first season, his rookie year, where he was coming off the bench for the majority of it. That season, Giannis would shoot 76% from the free throw line. That would be the second year in a row. He shot at least 75% from the free throw line. 2018 is also the last season to date that he shot at least 75. He's made at least 75% of his free throws. Alongside his nearly 27 points a game, Giannis would average exactly 10 rebounds. This would be the first season in his career that he would average a double-double. He would average 4.8 assists. His third year in a row, he would average at least 4 assists as a forward. He would average 1.5 steals, making it the third year in a row he would average at least a steal. In the second year in a row, he would average a steal and a half. He has not averaged a steal and a half since 2017-2018. He would also go on and average 1.4 blocks, making it the fourth year in his career in a row that he would average at least a block a game. Following that 2017-18 season, after Giannis would be named to the second team All-NBA, and he was named the Eurostar Player of the Year in 2018. The Milwaukee Bucks would lose in the first round for the second year in a row to the Boston Celtics, as that year the Eastern Conference would be won by the Cleveland Cavaliers yet again. They would get swept by the Golden State Warriors this year in the finals, and this would be the third time in a 4-year stretch that Giannis would lose in the very first round of the playoffs. This, of course, would lead into Giannis's 6th season with Milwaukee and his 3rd All-Star season in a row. In his age 24 season in 2018-19, he would start all 72 of the games he played in a season where the Bucks would finish with a 60-22 record. In Mike Budenholzer's first year as the coach, they would win 16 more games than the year prior. They would finish with the best record in the Eastern Conference for the first time in franchise history since 1973-74, when they won it back-to-back, as in that season they would lose in the NBA Finals to the Celtics. That would be the last MVP that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would win with the Bucks, just for context. In that 2018-19 season, John Horst would be the Executive of the Year. Mike Budenholzer would be the Coach of the Year. And in Mike Budenholzer's first coaching season, Giannis Antetokounmpo would be named the MVP of the league in just his 3rd All-Star season. That year, he would see his minutes per game drop from 36.7 to 32.8. He played 4 less minutes. He would see his points go up from 26.9 to 27.7. Second year in a row that he would average at least 25 points in the league. Third year in a row he averaged at least 20. He would shoot 57.8% from the field. It would be the 4th year in a row he shot at least 50% from the field. The first time he made at least 55% of his shots. And to this day, that would be his career high in field goal percentage. So far, he has not shot over 58% from the field. He would go on and shoot 25.6% from the three-point line. He would also go on and make 73% of his free throws, attempting nearly 9.5 free throw attempts a game. Alongside his 27.5 points, in his MVP season, he would average 12.5 rebounds. This would be his second season in a row averaging a double-double, and his first season averaging at least 12 rebounds in this league. He would average a career-high 5.9 assists. It would be the second year in a 3-year span he would average at least 5 assists at the forward position. He would average 1.3 steals and 1.5 blocks. This was, I would imagine, another year where he would lead the Bucks in points, rebounds, and assists, as well as steals and blocks in a season, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, following this 2018-19 season, in addition to being named the MVP of the league, he would be named to the All-NBA first team for the very first time in his career. The third year in a row, he would make an All-NBA team. He would make the All-Defensive first team for the very first time in his career. This would be the second time in a 3-year span that he would make an All-Defensive team. And of course, less players make the all-defensive team than make the all-NBA team, by the way. But following that 2018-19 season, his MVP season, the Milwaukee Bucks would go all the way to the conference finals. First, they would sweep the Pistons 4-0 to give Giannis his very first playoff series win. They would end up beating the Celtics, who beat them the year prior in the conference semis 4-1. And in the conference finals, the Bucks would end up losing 4-2 to the Toronto Raptors, who would go all the way to the finals and beat the Warriors, as the Warriors had been in their 5th straight NBA finals representing the Western Conference. This, of course, would lead into Giannis' second MVP season, in his 7th season in the league, which would be his age 25 season in 2019-20, also known as the season where the end would get delayed because of the bubble and because of COVID. This would be a year where Giannis would see his minutes dial back from 32.8 to 30.4. That would be the least amount of minutes that Giannis would average as a full-time starter, as he would start all 63 of the games he played for a Milwaukee Bucks team that went 56-17. With less games played, they would go on and finish as the best team in the East record-wise for the second year in a row, a feat they haven't done since the 70s. That year, Giannis would go on and not only win the MVP, he would be named to the first team All-Pro. He would be named an All-Star for the 4th season in a row. He would be named to the All-Defensive team for the second year in a row, and he would be named the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year in 2020. In those 30 minutes, he would average 29.5 points per game. This would be the 3rd year in a row he averaged at least 25 points, 4th year averaging at least 20, 3rd year averaging at least a double-double, but I'll get to that. He would average his 29.5 points while shooting 55.3% from the field. This would be the 2nd year in a row that he would he would make at least 55% of his shots. He would shoot 30.4% from 3. This would be the 2nd time in a 3-year span he would make at least 30% of his threes. He would shoot 63% from the free throw line in the very first season. He would average at least 10 free throw attempts a game. That would be the lowest free throw attempt. That's the lowest free throw percentage that Giannis has put together in a full season. As of right now, the pace is lower than that career low, but I digress. Alongside his 29.5 points per game, Giannis in his second MVP season would average a career high 13.6 rebounds, making it the 3rd year in a row he would average a 25-point triple-double, as his 13.6 rebounds would also be the 2nd year in a row he averaged at least 12 rebounds. He would average 5.6 assists, averaging at least 5 assists for the 3rd time in a 4-season stretch and for the 2nd year in a row. He would average exactly a steal and a block, making it at 5 years in a row for steals and 6 years in a row for blocks, that he was able to keep that average at 1 at the very minimum. Once that 2019-2020 season would end, the Milwaukee Bucks would find themselves beating the Orlando Magic in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs before they would lose in the conference semifinals to the Miami Heat, who would go all the way to the NBA Finals and lose to a very strong Los Angeles Lakers team led by LeBron James and Anthony Davis. This would then lead into Giannis Antetokounmpo's eighth season with Milwaukee Bucks. In his age 26 season in 2020-21, also known as the season where he would win a championship, that season would see him start all 61 of the games he played for a Milwaukee Bucks team that would go 46-26. They would finish with the third best record in the East, as they had 10 less wins than the year prior. In Mike Budenholzer's third year, this would be the year where Drew Holiday would go on and win the Sportsmanship Award. This year, Giannis Antetokounmpo would be named an All-Star for the fifth year in a row. As a matter of fact, in 2021, he was the NBA All-Star Games MVP. He would make the All-NBA first team for the third year in a row, making it half of a decade straight that he would make an All-NBA either first or second team, being regarded as a top 10 player in the league, voted on for half of a decade. Crazy. He would then go on, of course, to be named to the All-Defensive first team for the third year in a row, making it for the fourth time in a 5-year stretch. As in 2021, he would see his minutes go back up to about 33 minutes a game. He would average 28 minutes, making it 4 years in a row. He would average at least 26 points a game and a double-double. He would do so while shooting 56.9% from the field. It would be the third year in a row he made at least 55% of his shots, and this would, of course, be the sixth season in a row that he would make at least 50% of his shots. He would shoot 30.3% from the field, making it the second year in a row he would make at least 30% of his threes, and the third time in a 4-year stretch he would make at least 30% of his threes. 2020-21 would be the last season to date he has made at least 30% of his threes, at least for right now. He would shoot 68% from the free throw line, which was a bit better than what he did the previous year, but is still lower than his career average. Alongside his 28 points, he would average 11 rebounds, making it the fourth year in a row he would average a double-double. He would average 5.9 assists, which is tied with his career high. He would average 1.2 steals that season, as that would be the sixth year in a row that he would average at least a steal a game. His 1.2 blocks would make it 7 years in a row that he averaged at least a block. Following the end of the season, right after his back-to-back MVP winning season, the Milwaukee Bucks would end up beating the Miami Heat in the first round. They swept them. The second round would see them beat the Brooklyn Nets 4-3. In the conference finals, they would end up beating the Hawks in 6 games to make it all the way to the NBA Finals. In the 2021 NBA Finals, they would go on and beat the Phoenix Suns, as in the year where Giannis would have the most triple-doubles. He would go on and find himself averaging exactly 35.2 points, 13.2 rebounds, and 5 assists, while shooting 61% from the field in that 6-game series. In Giannis Antetokounmpo's first NBA Finals series, he would be named the NBA Finals MVP, as he would put together back-to-back 40-point games in the NBA Finals, not to mention that he would put together 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks in the clinching Game 6 to give himself his very first ring of all time, before he would be named to the NBA 75th anniversary team. But of course, following that championship, of course, now Giannis Antetokounmpo, now until the end of time, is an NBA champion. And following that season, that would lead us into the last full season that Giannis has played. It would be his age 27 season with Milwaukee, which would be his 9th in the NBA. He would start all 67 of the games he played in a season where the Milwaukee Bucks would finish with a 51-31 record. They would finish with the third best record in the East for the second year in a row. Compared to their last 82-game season, they had 9 less wins than in 2018-2019. This season, Drew Holiday would be voted the teammate of the year after being given the Sportsmanship Player of the Year. In Mike Budenholzer's 4th full season coaching the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo would make his 6th consecutive All-Star game in his 9th year in the league. He would make the first-team All-NBA for the 4th year in a row, making it the 6th year in a row he was voted a top 10 player in this league. He would be named to the All-Defensive first team for the 4th year in a row, making it the 5th time he's made it in a 6-year stretch. Additionally, in 2022, Giannis Antetokounmpo would see his minutes stay about the same at about 33 minutes a game. He would average 29.9 points per game, which to this date is the most points per game he's ever averaged in a season, as he still has yet to average over 30. And he still has yet to lead the NBA in scoring as of today. This season, he would go on and shoot 55% from the field. It will be the 4th year in a row he would make at least 55% of his shots, and it will be the 7th year in a row he would make over 50% of his shots. He would go on and shoot 29% from three, as he would make at least one three-pointer for the 3rd year in a row, or at least per game. He would shoot 72% from the free throw line. Alongside his nearly 30 points per game, he would average 11.5 rebounds, making it the 5th year in a row he was averaging over 25 points and 10 rebounds in this league for half of a decade, which is dominant. He would go on and average 5.8 assists. This would be the 4th year in a row and the 5th time in a 6-year stretch he would average at least 5 assists. He would average 1.1 steals, as this would be the 7th year in a row he would average at least a steal per game. He would average 1.4 blocks, making it the 8th season in a row he would average at least a block a game. As once this season would come to an end, the Milwaukee Bucks would beat the Bulls in the first round before they would lose in the conference finals to the Boston Celtics. Those same Boston Celtics would go to the 2022 NBA Finals, where they would meet their end, losing in 6 games to the Golden State Warriors, who would go on and win their 4th championship in what would be an 8-year span. But with that said, that brings us to where we are right now. Giannis Antetokounmpo is currently in his 10th season, as he is currently looking to finish out his very first decade in the NBA. So far, to date, coming off of an amazing 34-point outing and a win for Milwaukee, Giannis is currently, he started 19 games so far for a Milwaukee Bucks team that is currently holding on to the 2nd best record in the NBA. At 17-6, they sit 2 games behind the 20-win Boston Celtics, who currently hold the best record in the entire NBA. So while leading one of the best teams in the NBA, looking as though he may make his 7th consecutive All-Star already, he was averaging 33 minutes a game so far. So far, he's averaging 32 points a game. If he were to keep this pace, this would be the very first season that he would average over 30 points a game. Right now, he's shooting 54% from the field. He's shooting 24% from three. If he were to maintain this, it would be the lowest three-point percentage he would shoot since his 2nd year in the league. He would go on and also shoot 62% from the free throw line over his first 19 games. As alongside his 32 points, he's averaging 11.3 rebounds. If he were to maintain this streak, it would be 6 years in a row with a double-double. He's also averaging 5.5 assists. This would be the 5th year in a row he's averaging over 5 assists if he keeps that up. Right now, he's averaging 0.8 steals. If he were to maintain this pace, this would end his streak of 1 steal seasons at 7. And then right now he's averaging 1.1 blocks. So right now he's able to keep that streak alive. But right now this season is still very fresh. It is very young, and there is a lot more to come from this. With that said, I do want to thank everyone for listening to all 28 minutes of this piece. Sorry for dropping these so late, just because the World Cup games are so early. I am able to really be thorough and make sure this is done completely. With that said, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Thanks for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and peace out.